The first step is to break the tires free and safely lift the vehicle. Use a 21 mm socket to break loose each of the 5 lug nuts. Once they're broken loose, you're going to go ahead and lift the car using these lift points right here. Uh, the car does have a pinch weld, so you may need an adapter if you're using a floor jack. The adapter looks like this. There's also a link below. You can lift from the center mounting point. That's a little harder to get to, but it is doable. The next step is to remove the tire and familiarize yourself with what's going on. Most of this footage is shot by my associate, and so I'll let him take over.
I have rear disc brakes, which means I actually have a disc. Some cars on their rear, they have a drum. I should be making another video with my other vehicle that has a drum braking system. This disc braking system is going to be nearly identical to the front wheelbase. It's just going to be the brakes are facing on the back side instead of your front side. But you're still going to have two bolts to remove the caliper, and then you're going to have 2 more bolts right here to remove this actual the bracket unit, so we can remove the caliper. You can hang it right here again. We're going to remove the actual mounting bracket so we can take off our rotor.
Remove the caliper by removing the 2 14 mm guide bolts and then hanging the caliper so there's no stress on the brake line.
All right. So if you see here, I already loosened it with a 14 mm socket wrench. Remove that one and this one up here on the top. Once we have those 2 removed, this whole piece, which is your actual caliper, can slide off. Now there's a piece right here. I like to hang it right up there. You don't want to dangle it by this. This is your brake line. If you dangle it by that and that pulls out and breaks, then you have to redo all of your brake lines.
The mounting bracket is held on by 2 17 mm bolts. Go ahead and remove that, and then once that's off, you can remove the rotor itself by removing the 2 sets.
So as you can see here, we're taking off these 2 bolts, this one right here, and this bottom one right here. I've already loosened it, so we just have to take it off. Now as you can see, my vehicle has screws that keep the rotor on the wheel here. What you do is you insert it into the screw. It's set on loose. So you're going to pull it to twist it, like pressure on the left hand side, because I'm trying to loosen this screw. What you do is you give it a nice whack on the side and it will actually start twisting the screw. Now, my rotors are a little old, so they're still seized on here. Best thing to do to get that off is just put these on slightly. And we're going to hammer right here on each location pretty hard. This is to protect so you don't mess up the threads on your actual bolts there.
The next step is to install the new rotor and the brake pads in the bracket.
We reinserted our new rotor. It's the exact same one. There's our old one. So again, we're going to put the brake grease on where metal and metal contact is. Never on the brake pad. If it gets on the brake pad, make sure you wipe it off. Very good. The car won't stop then. I'm gonna go toward the bottom. Is it on? Okay. So see, here's the channel. It's going to fit right in the channel. We need to get it to slide in both sides of each channel. It's easier if you get the bottom first and then you go to the top. And as you can see, it clips in and slides in. With the opposite side, make sure the brakes follow the crescent mood side of your actual pad. Once they're in, we'll install it on there.
When resetting the back brake piston, I highly recommend that you get the tool from an auto parts store or just buy it. It's like 12 bucks. Then you don't have to open the bleed screw and it's a lot easier and less messy.
What we're going to redo now is reset that caliper piston right there. Alright, so we're going to loosen this, same thing, so when we put in our piston right here, so when we screw, so this one is going to be a screw-in piston as opposed to a push-in one like we had on the front brakes. So you can get a special tool from AutoZone or anything like that. I'm using needle nose pliers. I don't know if you can see in here. So there's two little notches. I'm notching these in, and as you can see, I'm actually twisting it back in. So make sure you leave your bleeder open. As you can see, it's getting everywhere. But that's because I'm twisting this back into its housing unit. So, as you can see, we're back in. We're good to go. I can take and tighten this back up, wipe off everything, and now we can insert our new brakes and we're good to go. Brakes in, we're good to go. We're going to reinstall the bracket. Just so you can get the piece in. It's always the easiest if you do the top first, that way it takes the pressure off the bottom. We can begin to fully tighten it down, which I may have to do after I put the caliper back. Alright, so now we're going to reinstall the caliper back on. You gotta push the brake pad all the way against the rotor sometimes to get it on. And now it's on. We're gonna hand tighten these screws with it.